If your grief stayed intense for years, would you believe it could nearly double your risk of death over the next decade?
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, and today we're looking at new research showing that when grief remains persistent and severe, the long-term toll is far more than emotional. It tracks with more medications, more medical visits, and a striking increase in mortality risk.
I'm Alara Sky. The study followed 1,735 bereaved relatives for 10 years and mapped how grief changed over time. A small group, about 6%, stayed on a high grief trajectory, meaning symptoms remained intense and unrelenting for years. Compared to people whose grief eased, this group faced nearly twice the risk of death across the decade, signaling that unresolved grief can reshape your health future.
The differences were visible in day-to-day care. People in the high grief group made far more general practitioner visits, and that pattern didn't fade quickly. Visits stayed elevated for up to 7 years after the loss. Out-of-hours calls also rose during years 4 through 6, showing how distress spilled over into emergencies outside normal office times.
They also leaned more on mental health services. The high grief group was almost 3 times as likely to use therapy, yet their symptoms remained high and the health risks persisted. That signals a gap. Care was accessed, but it didn't consistently move people off the high grief trajectory.
Medication use told the same story. Compared to those with low grief symptoms, the high grief group was over 5 times more likely to take antidepressants and more than twice as likely to use sedatives or anxiety drugs. Heavy reliance on psychotropic medication reflected how overwhelming the symptoms were and how hard they were to manage with standard approaches.
When grief is unrelenting, you feel it in your routines and in your body. Symptoms often include insomnia, persistent sadness or yearning, anxiety, depression, loss of appetite, and social withdrawal. If these don't ease over time and remain constant long after the loss, that's a sign you may be stuck in a high grief state and need a clearer plan.
Biology helps explain the long shadow. While the study didn't measure stress markers directly, ongoing grief keeps your stress response switched on. Stress hormones like cortisol stay elevated, disrupting sleep, weakening immunity, and accelerating wear and tear on your system. Over time, that raises vulnerability to chronic disease and may contribute to the higher death rate observed in people with persistent grief.
Daily habits often erode under that load. When sadness dominates, it's harder to eat well, move regularly, or sleep on a schedule. Even if the original research didn't track lifestyle step by step, you know the effect in your own life. Meals get skipped or replaced with ultra-processed choices, exercise drops, and nights stretch long and restless. Each of these adds strain to an already burdened system.
It's important to recognize that most grief does ease. For many people, the intensity lessens within about 6 months, even though the sadness never fully disappears. If a year or more has passed and your symptoms still feel raw and disruptive, that's a clear signal to seek additional support rather than waiting for time alone to change the trajectory.
Your grieving process belongs to you, and honoring that is the first step. You don't need to fit stages or timelines. If you're not angry, that's fine. If you never felt denial, that's fine too. Dropping comparison reduces pressure and opens space to move forward in a way that makes sense for you.
Next, give your mind and body real support. Exercise helps lift mood and build resilience. If structured workouts aren't your style, start with a daily walk. Meditation and yoga can help regulate your nervous system and bring steadier calm. These are practical tools you can reach for when emotions feel stuck.
Feed your mood with the right fuel. A nutrient-rich diet supports more stable brain chemistry, making it easier to process loss. Make whole foods, protein, and balanced carbohydrates part of your day. Avoid ultra-processed foods, especially those loaded with vegetable oils, and skip alcohol, which interferes with healing and sleep.
Protect your sleep as if your health depends on it, because it does. Set a routine and keep it. Limit blue light at night, keep your room cool and dark, and aim for consistent bed and wake times. Even modest improvements in sleep quality restore mental clarity and make grief easier to carry.
Consider the emotional freedom techniques, or EFT. By tapping specific points with your fingertips, you can help release emotional pain and rebalance your system. You can learn basics on your own, and if you're dealing with complicated grief, working with an experienced EFT practitioner offers additional guidance when feelings feel immovable.
Let's connect this back to the risk numbers so you can gauge where you are. If your grief has stayed severe for a year or more, if doctor visits and urgent calls are rising, and if you're relying on antidepressants or anxiety medications without feeling any traction, you're seeing the same pattern the study flagged, one linked to higher illness and mortality over time.
You're not alone in that pattern, and you're not stuck with it. Recognizing the signs is the turning point. Name what's happening, honor your process, and then build a simple plan. Daily movement or walking, a brief meditation window, nutrient-dense meals without ultra-processed oils, a firm sleep schedule, and a dedicated EFT practice. These steps are small, specific, and within reach.
Here's your challenge for the week. Choose 3 actions from that plan and commit to them for 7 days. 1 for movement, 1 for nourishment, and 1 for emotional release. For example, walk 20 minutes each day. Prepare 2 nutrient-rich meals that avoid ultra-processed oils and alcohol, and practice a 5-minute EFT tapping sequence before bed. Track how your sleep, mood, and energy shift. Thank you for watching Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.